Hey guys, my name is Matthew,
And my name is Samuel.
and today we're going to take a look at three authoritarian leaders, noting a few things such as how they rose to power, their reign, and the impact they made on their country and the world, while comparing and contrasting their actions.
Starting with Mao Zedong, this is a name that many know. Mao was the former chairman of the People's Republic of China. Also known as a Chinese Communist Revolutionary, he was the former founder of the People's Republic of China. He ruled as the chairman of the Communist Party of China from when it was founded in 1949 till his death in 1976. He took his people through the Long March, which was a year-long retreat after the Communists were defeated by the Nationalist Party of China / Chinese National Party that is now formally known as Taiwan.
During Mao's rule, he pushed the People's Republic of China through a gruesome and lengthy civil war, pushing the Chinese nationalists to flee to the island of Taiwan, where their government now resides. Mao further reigned his country with an iron fist. Mao and his government oppressed all opposition and made sure to keep a tight influence on the country through propaganda, extreme censorship, and force. Mao also implemented a cultural revolution known outside of China as Maoism. This cultural revolution aimed to purge all traditional and capitalist remnants within China and to instill communist ideology.
Mao's reign led to the death of anywhere from 40 to 100 million people, both his own and others he purged. His former rule still has an impact today, which has led to many families still feeling the effects/scars of their lost relatives. It also led to China becoming a world superpower to be feared. Thanks to the Chinese communism introduced by Mao, China is excelling at an incredible rate both economically and technologically.
Next, we're going to talk about Miklos Horthy. Miklos Horthy was a Hungarian statesman and admiral around the time of the First and Second World War. Born June 18, 1868, in Kenderes, Hung, Austria-Hungary. Horthy grew up in nobility, his father a member of the House of Magnates and the ironically named Diet of Hungary. His mother being of noble blood, Horthy was quickly integrated into his position in the navy and served valiantly, breaking through the Allies' Adriatic blockade several times, resulting in his promotion to admiral.
Miklos Horthy was not the technical leader of Hungary with his time in power, but was simply covering for King Charles IV. Although many say that Horthy thwarted King Charles' attempts to regain power, the interpretation of his intentions are different with many sources. Miklos Horthy managed to suppress a threatening communist uprising and renounced the Treaty of Trianon. This allowed his people to generally live in peace and managed to start the Hungarian war economy that provided many jobs. Horthy joined the Axis with Hitler, Italy, and Romania. He made this decision simply to protect his people and his country's economy along with their overall development.
Horthy simply preserved the nobility in Hungary through authoritarianism and his position of regent of Hungary. Although he wasn't particularly tyrannical and didn't quite like Hitler, he nonetheless sympathized with the Reich in its efforts to expand after being so-called cheated after the First World War. After the war had ended, Horthy was exiled from the country and lived the rest of his life in Portugal until he died in 1957.
Finally, we'll talk about Hideki Tojo. Hideki Tojo was a Japanese statesman, imperial army general, and served as a prime minister of Japan from 1941 to 1944. Born in Kojimachi, Tokyo, Japan, Tojo grew up with strong conservative views, believing that all liberal democracy should be eliminated in Japan and instilled with an authoritarian regime. During his entire military career, he served valiantly and rose to power over the years.
His time as a Japanese statesman, imperial army general, and prime minister of Japan sparked the violence that ensued as Japanese troops moved through China and the Pacific. Tojo inspired his soldiers to disregard international law by treating POWs with incredible disrespect while also causing a massive genocide of Chinese, raping and pillaging as they moved through the country. Hideki Tojo rose to power by becoming the Vice Minister of War. In this position, he was able to rapidly take the lead in the military's rising strength of Japanese foreign authority, campaigning for the signing of the 1940 Tripartite Pact with Germany and Italy, which resulted in Japan becoming an Axis power. Hideki was ultimately tried for his war crimes. Found guilty, he was executed at Sugamo Prison, Tokyo, in 1948, along with other Japanese war criminals.
His reign led to the fall of Japanese authoritarianism due to his and his country's overambition. America instituted democracy after first allowing General Douglas MacArthur to rebuild the country and its political system. This marked the end of Tojo's influence, but his remnants stays imprinted on the world to this day.
All these rulers have one thing in common: their authoritarian and iron grip over their country. These men used their influence to benefit their country the way that they envisioned, whether it's right or wrong. Some things they did were worse than others, but regardless, their reign proved to be beneficial for some and fatal for many. One thing that neither of them had in common was their personalities. Mao was a ruthless communist leader that wanted to get rid of the old Chinese culture. Horthy was a monarchist that wanted to simply protect his people from Hitler's expansion. And Tojo was a staunch conservative and believer of authoritarianism who wanted to expand Japan past its original territories through incredible, inhumane, and hideous methods.
At the end of the day, each ruler is different and impacts the world in their own personal way.